All right, these notes are on percent word problems. Percent word problems. Let's see, our steps are to draw a skeleton. I call it a skeleton, this frame of a bar equals bar 100. And then we'll identify the number is. These are three different numbers. There's an is, there's an of, and there's a percent number. All right, and that's what we'll be identifying. And then we're going to solve using cross products. All right, let's first, I think I'm going to go a little bit out of order, and let's identify the is, of, and percent numbers. Okay, let's do that first. I'm going a little bit out of order. So let's take a look at this one. And it is 24 is what percent of 120? 24 is what percent of 120? Well, let's see. This number right here, of 120, that is what we call the of number. That's the of number. See, it's got an of right with it. It's the of number. And this one here, 24 is, that's what we're calling the is number. It's got the word is right next to it. What we don't know is what percent. So we don't know the percent, but we know this number and this number. That's important because we have to know where to place those. And if you look in the top right corner, this is where the is number goes, the of number, and the percent number. And then we have 100. This is where I place those numbers. So, but before we do that, let's go through all of these and identify the is, the of, and the percent number. Let's go through and identify those. Let's go to sentence number 2, or number 2 problem. All right. What number is 40% of 80? Okay. Well, this is definitely the of number. It's got an of in front of it. Of 80. Now, would you call this the is number or the percent number? 40%. Well, that must be the percent number. So what don't we know? What number is? We don't know the is number. Is of percent 100. There's 3 numbers. We're missing 1 number. Let's try this again on the next sentence. All right, we have 18 is 72% of what number? All right, well, let's see. We have a 72%. That's an is, by the way. 18 is 17. Okay, so is this an is or an of number? Well, it must be an is number. It's right next to it. 18 is. This is a percent. I don't know the of what number. I don't know. That's our missing number. That's what we have to determine. Okay, so we identified those numbers that we need. Now let's go ahead and we will place them. We'll place them in this model. So like this one right here. All right. Notice on here, the percent goes up here. 100%, this is where percents are. And down here are where just the numbers are. Not percent numbers, just numbers. And I put the word is, of, percent 100. All right, so let's see. This is the is number, 24. That means it is this one down here. It's not the one all the way to the right. It's not the whole thing. It's part of it. So where would 24 is what percent of 120? Of 120 is this. The whole thing is 120. 24 would be about, let's just say right about here. So 24 out of 120. But we don't know what the percent is. That's the question. 24 is what percent of 120? They could have said 24 out of 120 is what percent? They could have wrote it that way. All right, so we set this up. Let's go to our next problem. Let's make this model. Just identify it. All right, let's see. Percent, that goes up on top, 40%. 40%, let's see, 40% out of 100 is right about, let's say there. 40% of 80. The whole thing is 80. What we're missing is this number, the is number. We want to know what is 40% of 80. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next model. Let's see, this is 100%. I'll put that down. And over here is my is. I'll just put is. And this is the of. And then, of course, your percent is up here somewhere. All right, it says 18 is 72% of something. Of what number? 72%. Well, that's, let's say about here is 72%. Eighteen is 72%. 18 is 72% of, we don't know. We don't know the of number. Okay, with this, we can go ahead and do now our proportions. If we look to the right, there's the diagram up here. So we have two ratios. The is of. This is a ratio. This is part. And this is the total, the whole. I'll say total. Then we have the other ratio. And this is our percent ratio. All right, and I'll just put the word ratio. So you have some ratio, part to total, and then we have percent. And they're equal to each other. So what we use is proportions to solve that. So if you want to, we can just look right over here. Now remember, notice up here it's is of percent 100. So I'll just write that, a different color here. This is the is number. This is the of number. This is a percent number. And this is 100. All right, so what do we have for the is? We don't know. Oh, it's 24. 24 out of 120. Excuse me. 24 out of 120 equals something out of 100. If you notice, if I took this and turned it sideways, this would be the proportion. 24 over 120, x over 100. I'll just do it. I'll turn this back around, and we will solve this in just a moment. Let's set up our next proportion. Let's go to the next problem. So remember that this is the is, this is the of. Let me make it larger for you. This is the percent over here, and this is 100. So now let's put the numbers in there. We know 40 over 40%, 100%. The is number, I don't know what the is number is. Something over 80. Something over 80 is equal to 40 over 100. So if I turn this around this way, you can see 40 over 100, x over 80. You can see the proportion right there. Let's move to the next one. We just set up the proportion. We'll solve in just a moment. So what do we have? I'll make my proportion. This is the is of percent 100. We can do the percent one first. Notice it's 72% and 100% go together, 72 over 100. And the other one, 18 over something. 18 out of something. 18 out of something is the same thing as 72 out of 100, or 72%. Okay, so now we've set everything up. We've shown it with a model, where the numbers are, what we're missing, and we've shown it with a proportion. Okay, now we just need to solve the proportion. We solve proportions using cross products. So let's look at the first one. Cross product, so it's going to be these two. Those two are 120x, 120 times x. You don't have to put the dot if you don't want to. Is equal to the other two, 24 times 100. Right? 24 times 100. Okay, so now what do we do? Next step is to divide by 120, divide by 120. And if you do that, this will be gone. You are left with x equals, and now we solve this. And if you multiply times it, divided by 120, you will end up with 20. And we want to know what percent, so the answer is 20%. Okay, you could do this a little bit shorter, and I will do that with the next one. Let's try the next one. Let's do this a little bit shorter. We know that these two go together and these two go together, right? And so I'm going to shorten things up. And notice that whatever is across from our x, that is always going to be in the denominator. See, like this other one here, 120, the one across from x ends up in the denominator. Every time. Whatever's across from x, diagonal, it'll end up in there. So if I go ahead and that means these two are on top, and some of you already know this, and then 100 is on the bottom. Because see, I'd have to put 100 over here, and then I divide by 100, then I divide by 100. I'm saving a step. And if you use a calculator, you will find out it ends up being like 8 times 40, 8 times 4, which is 32. The answer is 32. That means 40%, 32 out of 80 is 40%, 40 out of 100. The answer goes up here is 32. 32. All right, and last one. So again, let's use our shortcut here. We're going to have x equals we're going to have two numbers on top and one on the bottom. So let's see. The one diagonal goes at the bottom. The one diagonal of x is going to be at the bottom. That would be 72. The other two are going to be on top. 18 times 100. So I go ahead, I multiply, divide by 72, and their answer comes out to be 25. 25 is the answer. So 18 is 72% of 25. 18 is 72% of 25. And that is how we use proportions to solve word problems. So the key is, of, and percent, knowing where they go in a proportion. And how you put them in a model is already the proportion right there.